Minasan namaste. Nihongo no Ipiji no Patshala yokoso. Watashi wa Kana Anita desu. Kyou benkyou suru paper no namae wa An Introduction to Japanese Literature in English desu. そして今日勉強するモジュールの題は日本の代表的な武士の文化を象徴している人物、歴史人物、宮本武蔵を通してそれを理解することです。それでは早速英語で講義を続けます。We start today with the life of Miyomoto Musashi, and it is based on a novel by a famous historical writer, Eiji Yoshikawa, and it has come down to us through the article by Dr. Akash K. Ouchi, who studied in India, and when we were organizing a conference or other of first Indo-Japanese conference on Japanese literature in India in 2004, he presented this article which I feel is epitome of Bushido and help a long way to understand the very concept close to a samurai or the warrior. As I mentioned, this was authored by Dr. K. Ouchi, and I am going to base my lecture on his. Miyomoto Musashi was the most famous samurai in Japan. He was a historical figure in real sense and lived between 16th to 17th century, the turbulent, I would say one of the most turbulent periods of Japan before the establishment of Tokugawa shoguns. In the novel, the opening lines start from the Battle of Sekigahara, the historical battle, and it was about the fight between Musashi and his opponent Sasaki Kojiro. For any Japanese adult, it seems it has been a very inspiring personality due to his self-discipline, self-seeking spirit, due to Musashi Miyamoto's self-discipline, self-seeking spirit and in-depth development of sensitivity in his life. This novel, titled Miyomoto Musashi, was published by Asahi Shimbun in the age between 1935 to 39, when the novels were introduced serially in the newspapers. It became popular since then. As we know, as I just mentioned, that the story of Miyomoto Musashi starts from the Battle of Sekigahara, and as the opening lines described how Musashi and his childhood friend Matahachi lay wounded among the dead bodies in the battlefield. We are told that Musashi was born and he grew up in Miyamoto village in central Japan as a son of a farmer and part-time samurai, but he had no training of swordsmanship. He was a teenager, barely 17 years young and strong, but was barbarian, uncouth and unpolished. The first turning point in his life comes through interaction with a Zen priest, a famous Zen priest, Takuan. Young Musashi returned to his village, and for making his entry, he broke the province security gate and killed a few security guards, something very simple for him. The security started hunting for Musashi. However, they could not catch him and come to know that Musashi had hidden himself in the mountains. The Zen priest there offered to bargain with Musashi to bring him out and gave him the right of deciding the penalty for him by Musashi himself. Like this, Takuan persuaded him to come out of the mountains and caught him using every mean, music, food, dialogue, and finally by the force. In order to save Musashi from the death penalty at the hands of the security forces, Takuan hoisted up Musashi to a branch about 30 feet from the ground and lashed him tightly onto a stormy to a branch about 30 feet from the ground and lashed him tightly on a stormy day. Then he addressed to him, "You are too strong physically. A human being doesn't have much chance of wrestling with a tiger. Luckily, he rarely has to being the more intelligent one of the two." Not many people would agree with the fact that tigers are inferior to humans. It is the same with your so-called courage, said Takuan. Your conduct up till now gives no evidence that it is anything more than an animal courage, the kind that has no respect for human value and life. Takuan continued to hang him up on the tree and kept this dialogue on, and after a few days later, finally Musashi, while hanging from the tree, admitted, "I want to be a better man. I realize how important it is, what a privilege it is to be born a human being. I am almost dead, but I understand what it means to be alive, and now that I know my whole life will consist of being tied to this tree only." As Musashi began to have some realization and desire to live like a normal human being, in this story it is shown how his self-training in the art of swords, the development of his inner strength, and the importance of being a good human being is realized by him. The interesting part of Eiji Yoshikawa's novel is the in-depth understanding of human psychology. After listening to the voice of Musashi, cancel this, and here the romance also begin as a young girl, Otsu, an orphan living in the temple, felt genuine concern for Musashi only by hearing his voice. Otsu decided to release him from the village and the two ran away in the night. This was done to undertake the journey of self-training of swordsmanship, which begins from this point. Next is his life at Himeji Castle. After Musashi left the village and escaped, Takuan met him again and he made him study in the form of confinement in the Himeji castle. Takuan said, "You may read as much as you want." A famous priest of ancient times has said once that I become immersed in the sacred scriptures and read thousands of volumes, and when I come out of it, I find that my heart could see more than before. Takuan continued, "Think of this room as your mother's womb and prepare to be born anew. If you look at it only with your eyes, you will see nothing more than an unlit closed cell. But look again more closely. Look within your mind and think, this room can be a wellspring of enlightenment, the same fountain of knowledge found and enriched by sages in the past. It's up to you to decide whether this is to be a chamber of darkness or the one of light." There are two subjects here which samurai has to learn in his pursuit of swordsmanship. One is military art and the other is literary. Musashi spent 3 years in the room reading whatever books and materials were available there. Also, he read the work topography section of the Sun Tzu's Art of War. When he came to a passage in that, what appealed to him was the quote, "He who knows the art of warrior is not confused in his movements. He acts and is not confined." Therefore, Sun Tzu said, "He who knows himself and knows his enemy wins without doubt. He who knows the heavens and the earth wins all over." After acquiring such knowledge, Musashi's thought process starts focusing more on the inner self, seeking more logical and convincing reasoning. After this, he had determined to spend his life in pursuit of swordsmanship. Said like this, "Now there is only one thing, this sword, the only thing in the world I have to rely on. I will live by its rule. I will regard it as my soul, and by learning to master it, strive to improve myself, to become a better and a wiser human being." Takuan follows the way of Zen. I will follow the way of the sword. I must make myself even better man than he is. Resolving like this, Musashi reached Kyoto, and then he introspected. "I want to lead an important life. I want to do it because I am born as a human being." And further on, he realized that if the young cannot harbor great dream in their souls, who can? At the same time, Musashi was clear that the path of greatness no longer lay in winning fights or battles. Today, the people wanted only the peace for which they had yearned so long. He had no teacher who could teach him swordsmanship, so he went to the mountains for months and trained himself. He made the rules of nature as the master of his swordsmanship. Therefore, his style of swordsmanship had no fixed style or rules at the initial stage. Rather, he created his style based on his experiences. Your strength is your problem. After self-training in the mountain, Musashi went to Nara to visit a temple which is famous for martial arts. In the temple, there was interesting encounter of Musashi with an old priest, Nikkan, in the area of martial arts. Their conversation goes like this. The old priest, having seen Musashi, said to him, "You seem to have the right attitude, but you are so strong, much too strong." And Musashi thought as if he was being praised, and so he blushed and said, "Oh no, I am still immature. I am always making blunders." The old priest continued, "That's not what I mean. Your strength is your problem. You must learn to control it, become weaker." Musashi was very puzzled. The old priest asked, "When you saw me, you jumped away, didn't you?" "Yes," answered Musashi. "Why did you do that?" asked the old priest. And Musashi answered, "Well, somehow I imagined that you might use your hoe as a weapon and strike on my legs with it." The old man laughed. "It was the other way around. When you were still 50 feet away from me, I perceived what you call something to murder me in the air. I sensed it at the tip of my away. I sensed your fighting spirit and ambition. It was manifest itself in every step you took. I knew I had to be prepared to defend myself. If it had been one of the local farmers," continued the priest, "I myself would have been no more than an old man tending vegetables. True, you sensed belligerence in me, but it was only a reflection of your own." This conversation is very interesting. This may help to understand some aspect of the Japanese swordsmanship. A strong swordsman senses a strong enemy before the encounter. A weak swordsman does not understand the hidden strength of the other person. Here both Musashi and Nikkan perceived the strength of each other. People and faith. Musashi, who was accompanied by his young disciple Jotaro, traveled to Yagyu area after visiting Osaka, Izu provinces, Kyoto and Nara. Yagyu is the district where Yagyu family governed from generation to generation. Many samurai from this clan became the teachers of swordsmanship for Shogun's family. After visiting Yagyu area, Musashi had the following conversation with his disciple Jotaro. "For one thing, there are lots of trees in the mountains here." Jotaro laughed. "Trees? There are trees everywhere." "Well, aren't there?" "Yes, but here it is different. All the trees in Yagyu are old. That means there haven't been any war in this area. No enemy troops burning or cutting the forest. It also means that there haven't any famines, at least for a long time. That's all." "No, the fields are green too, and the new barley has been well trampled to strengthen the roots and make it grown well. Listen, can't you hear the sound of spinning wheels? It seems to be coming from every house. And haven't you noticed that when travelers in the fine clothing pass by the farmers, look at them enviously? Anything else? As you can see, there are many young girls working in the fields. It means that the district is well off, the life is normal here, the children are growing up healthy, the old people are treated with due respect, and the young men and women aren't running away to live uncertain lives in the other places. It's a safe bet that the lord of this district is wealthy and that the swords and guns in this armor are kept polished and in the best condition." "I don't see anything so interesting in all that," remarked Jotaro. So what was observed by Musashi in multiple observations within the same time had no meaning to Jotaro. Such was his perception and observation, which had refined over the years. The senior-most samurai in that family, Yagyu family, asked Musashi the purpose of his visit to Yagyu area. And his answer was, it was to meet Sekishu Sai, the best swordsman in the area, and receive a lesson on swordsmanship. In Sekishu's view, the art of war was certainly a means of governing the people, but it was also a means of controlling the self. Musashi sensed the greatness of Sekishu Sai by looking at the field and the mountains around. Sword fighting without a sword. When Sekishu Sai was young and seeking for an opportunity to learn swordsmanship, he met with Lord Koizumi. Sekishu Sai requested Lord Koizumi to stay longer to give lessons on swordsmanship, and when they finally parted, Lord Koizumi said, "My way of swordsmanship is still imperfect. You are young and you should try to carry it on to perfection." He then gave Sekishu Sai a Zen riddle. What is sword fighting without a sword? So, as related Sekishu Sai to Musashi, he himself pondered over this riddle over a number of years and considered it from every angle, and finally he concluded. And when Lord Koizumi came to visit him again, Sekishu Sai greeted him with clear, untroubled eyes and suggested that they have a match. His lordship scrutinized him for a moment and then said, "No, it would be useless. You have discovered the truth." This is a very interesting story indicated non-violent strategy in the sword fighting. The result of such strategy is actually dialogue diplomacy, where Sekishu Sai could govern the province without any confrontation